Society dictates that we should have accomplished something at a certain timeline or at a certain age. But for our guest artist Stephen Travers, discovering art at a time that others might perceive as quote unquote late turns out to be the start of a great adventure that will lead to a world of teaching, drawing, and a community that supports his passion through and through. I am thrilled to have him on board. It is a privilege to interview someone who has been a positive force in the art community through the power of social media. In this conversation, we are exploring the critical moment that sets him on a new art path, how to overcome your love and hate relationship with art, his personal tip to get better at drawing or painting, a foundational step to get you committed to art, and why social media is an ally. If you want to be part of the conversation, then send in your questions and topics you want us to cover to hello@etcherlab.com. Hey, this is Jessie from Etcher. We believe in your power to create, so we invited artists from all around the globe to inspire you to keep on creating. Join us in this journey and let's celebrate creativity. This is Make More Art, the podcast. Welcome to Make More Art, the podcast, and thank you for agreeing to do this interview with me. So I know just looking at your works, by the way, they are so beautiful, amazing. The artistry is just so excellent. And watching your videos as well, your live as well as your YouTube videos, there's so much value that you put out there for a lot of people who are starting out or venturing into art. But before we dive into those golden nuggets, can you take us through your journey? I'm very much interested to hear how you started venturing in art.
Yeah. Well, I guess, I mean, I like drawing as a child. Drawing is very accessible. You don't have to have much around you to be. You don't have to have equipment. You can find a bit of paper and a pencil. And I had a sense of, and it probably other people said this, that I was artistic. I was quite good at art, but I didn't really feel that myself. But I enjoyed it. And I always enjoyed when we did art at school, although I always felt this pressure that it had to look really good, and I never felt I was going to kind of be good enough. So it was this love-hate relationship as a kid. In high school, I did art, and it was that same love-hate relationship, but probably more hate. So I spent then most of my adult life thinking about art every day and not actually doing anything. And probably as is quite sort of frequent, I had a wife and a family and children and a mortgage, and there really wasn't time for a lot of extra things anyway. But I still found myself, I would sit on the motorway between my home and where I went to work for maybe an hour every day, and often in bumper traffic. And a lot of it just had gum trees, because I'm Australian, gum trees lining the sides of the road, and it was early morning or late afternoon, so the light would be low and coming through the canopies, and I'd be looking at that wondering, how would I capture that in paint? How would I, what would Monet do? What would I do? And I thought about it. Lots of time to think about it sitting in traffic. But it was in 2006, my eldest daughter, in her final art project for her final school, she got into like the grand exhibition of the very best at the Art Gallery of New South Wales, and she won the Sponsors Award, which was a year's scholarship at like Sydney's oldest art school, right at the Rocks at Circular Quay there, where the Opera House and the Harbour Bridge is, like really. And I was incredibly jealous. Like, I was so envious of her opportunity. It was the sort of feelings you have when you're 15 or 16. Like, I just so wanted that to be me. And
Okay.
I mean, I was thrilled for her. Don't get me wrong. I was really pleased she had this opportunity, and we could encourage her in it. But the strength of my feeling that, I so wish that could be me, just made me say, look, Stephen, you're an adult. I was almost 50. Like, what are you carrying on about? If you want to do it, do it. No one's stopping you but yourself. And that was a bit confronting. And so what I did was I found I'm not quite sure the educational systems in different countries, but what was then a technical college. And so they offered certificates rather than degrees. And in their fine arts certificate, there was an introduction to drawing subject, 3 hours a week. And I could stop on the way home from work. So by not going home and getting involved with home and with my wife being very generous in letting me do it. And that's what started, this 3 hours once a week. And I just absolutely loved it. And that was drawing. And because it was an introduction course, it was a wide range of subjects, a wide range of media that we used. There was pencil, there was pen, there was pastel, there was ink. We did life drawing, we did still life. We went outside and sketched the buildings of the college. We did all manner of things. So it was really great, and I just absolutely loved it. And the next year I did the Introduction to Painting course, which was a 3-hour equivalent course, but with painting. And again, it was a wide range of subjects. And I probably enjoyed the drawing more, but I did love the painting. But, the next year for the second year subjects, painting, it was 6 hours. It was on the weekend. We had kids' sport to drive to. It was just too big a commitment. And plus there was a much more focused curriculum, which wasn't what I necessarily wanted to do. So I thought, look, I'll just do it myself. And I did. And I painted this and that. And for 10 years I painted. I actually didn't draw at all. So things like this is one of my big gum tree canopies behind me.
Yeah.
So it's quite a big painting. But I also did small paintings, and although I love the gum trees, I actually did flowers because they were smaller for two reasons. One is they were easier to sell, and for the time I was putting in. But also I discovered when you do this is our state flower, the New South Waratah. But I learned when you do a big painting, it's a big commitment, and so you can become a bit nervous and apprehensive. And you do a little painting, you can take risks with colour and tone and push things, because if it doesn't work out, it's only taken you, a few hours to half a day, and you can always paint over it the next day and do it again. Whereas with a big painting, you think, I spent 2 months on this so far, I don't want to wreck it, so maybe I won't kind of risk this or that. And so I found that working small was great. And it was really, though, a trip. So I did 10 years of painting exclusively. And it was only that we went to Europe in 2018 for a wedding. And our whole family went because we were all asked to this wedding in Germany. And we all met up in different points, but we were all together in Paris for the first time just before we went to Germany. And we were all walking back to the Airbnb late one afternoon with that exhaustion you have when you're a tourist in a big city. And we were walking in front of Notre Dame. We were just crossing that island that it's on. And I said to my youngest daughter, who loves art as well, why don't we just sit here and draw Notre Dame, and the others can go on? And so everyone else went back and we sat there. And, of course, it was such a wonderful time just to spend with her. But I was really happy with the drawing. It was just in pencil in a sketchbook that I'd carried around for like 3 weeks and not touched at that point. And, And when we got back to the Airbnb, my daughter said to me, you should put this on your Instagram account. Like, you should post it on Instagram, which I'd started when I began the paintings, because the kids said, you're an artist, you have to have an Instagram account. So it seemed a bit strange. And I had about 300 followers and with my paintings after 2 years. And if I'd get 15 to 30 likes for something, and I'd get very excited about that. And so I posted the drawing and it got a much better response than my paintings did. And I love the drawing, so I kept drawing more, posting them. And when I came back to Australia, I began to draw. I didn't want to let go of Paris. I began to draw from my photos and post those, because with drawing too, you obviously can produce more artwork more quickly. And it became this, I couldn't believe the response my artwork was getting. Like, it just blew my mind that people wanted to look at it. And, I mean, I really enjoyed doing it. I almost studied architecture when I left school. I became a high school teacher instead, but I almost did architecture. So I've got that interest, although not that training. And yeah, I don't know. It just kind of like, and I remember the first time I got 1,000 likes for a drawing, like about 2 weeks after we got back to Australia. And I couldn't believe it. Like, I had no idea how small the world had become. I was like this, and because I felt like I was the oldest man on social media. But anyway, it kind of, I mean, at times I wasn't sure was the tail wagging the dog, but I certainly found it very encouraging. And it was a bit strange because most of my peers at my age saw social media as a bit of a negative thing, if anything, that generally it has a bad effect for society. And yeah, well, it really encouraged me in my art. I know that.
Wow. That is a beautiful, inspiring, and I could listen to you all day talk about, especially on the aspect of social media. And by the way,
it was just so unexpected. It was just so unexpected. And people are so kind. Like, I mean, everyone talks about trolls, and I've had one comment once. Like, I've got 140,000 followers almost.
Yeah.
And I've had one comment once that I thought, I think he's having a go at me. But before I'd even read it, and someone else obviously thought he was having a go at me and came in and defended me against his column.
Well, you're not too old for social media. That, Stephen, it's just, I love listening to how you had a love and hate relationship with drawing when you were a kid, and the span of time that it took you to go back, and it was very random when you went back to it. Like, you were walking with your daughter, and you started drawing. And just the beauty of art, right? I mean, it's always there. I mean, you always have the passion and the skill and the talent to do it. But like what you said, life happens and there are a lot of circumstances around it. And did you say that you are a teacher? I know that your tagline on your social.
No, I was a teacher. I only taught for 3 years, 1980, 81, 82. Because your parents probably weren't even born then. But, so it was a long time ago. Unfortunately, I left teaching to do some other things, and I strained my voice really badly and discovered I had a problem with my vocal cords. And so it was never going to come back and be strong enough that it wouldn't always be an issue. And I thought, well, there's just no point. I didn't want to have a job where constantly I was struggling to do it. So, so I didn't go back. But I do obviously enjoy teaching, I think. And probably as well, just I'm interested in the process. And when I began to draw consistently, and I'd look at other artists' drawings that I'd find on Instagram, and I'd be thinking, especially other artists whose work I liked more than mine, and I'd be thinking, well, what makes their work theirs and what makes my work mine, and what is my drawing style and where does it come from? What defines it? How does it change? How can I encourage that? How can I use other artists' work to improve my work, and so forth? So I have a mind that likes to kind of get quite analytical about those things, and I think it's probably both helped in my drawing, but then when I started to do videos, or even before I did the videos, I was doing live demos, and to be able to talk as I was drawing and explain, and to kind of understand enough what I was doing to put words to it while I was doing it was probably very helpful, having had that teaching.
Yeah, I love the tagline, with a teacher's heart, because that explains a lot. When we were talking offline, right, prior to the recording of the episode, I mentioned that everything that you post online, your videos or even your artwork, there's always a value add. More than the drawing itself, there will always be like golden nuggets or a tip there, a technique here, on how to draw better, or how to face your fears of a blank page, how to.
I think it's just that I can't help but say what's in my head.
And I love that. Yes. That's exactly what the community needs, especially in art. And that's actually the reason why we have you on this podcast, Make More Art, because you have so much value to offer, Stephen. And the experience that you had through the years, even with the love and hate relationship, there was a lesson that we kind of, what I personally picked from there, right? Because you were very critical with your words, and you were thinking, is this good enough or not? That's why that love and hate relationship. But then eventually you were able to overcome that and realize that, with a little push from your children to go ahead and post it, show your works.
Yeah.
It was welcomed with open arms by the community because it was authentic, because it was coming from a place of, this is what I do, this is what I would like to share with you. And then you added value to it by sharing, speaking out loud, or thinking out loud rather. So you mentioned that you started with painting, and I was actually curious with the artwork behind you, because I thought it was a photo. When you look at it right now, it looks so real. I mean, the colors of the sky, even the gradient, and then the leaves, the colors, the different shades of green that you use. I thought it was I thought it was a photograph. And even when you were showing the flower, and then the smaller version of that, I thought they were photographs. So when you talk about finding your style earlier, and looking at other people's work, how did they develop their own style? How did you develop yours?
Well, with the painting, I always wanted to paint fairly naturalistically. So basically I'd have the photo and I'd be trying to make my painting look like the photo. Mm-hmm. And when I did the best I could, that's how it turned out. And I mean, I can certainly see a development. If I look at my earliest paintings, there's one or two I had framed because I was very proud of early on, and I look at them now and I think, why did I waste the money having that framed? I wouldn't put it up anywhere now. But obviously at the time I must have been very proud of it because I paid $150 for a frame. So, but I take that as encouraging, because it means I have actually, in that time, I went further in going to a place that I was trying to get to. So that was, I don't mind that so much. But so with the painting, I just kind of kept, if something worked out, I would do it more. And but I did find switching to small size very helpful to accelerate learning, because you can complete lessons a lot quicker, like especially with painting. With the drawing, it's a little more immediate anyway. But especially and the sort of style of painting I was doing, where a large painting, it's a big commitment if it then doesn't turn out, or you lose interest and don't really give it your energy. So what did surprise me though was that, so for 10 years, I paint this in oils on canvas of Australian trees and flowers. And then I go straight from that to sort of drawing architecture. and like you couldn't get sort of more opposite in both medium and subject. And yet I was aware when I was started to draw how much the painting was helping me. I was surprised as I'm drawing, I'm consciously thinking, oh yeah, when I was doing this with the colour, and somehow that helps me with the line work, because it gives me a clearer focus of what I'm trying to capture. And even though the translation tools are different, it somehow still informed what I was doing. Although you would have thought, no, it's just a tone. Or you would have thought that the drawing would be skills you'd want to learn before you did the painting, and that somehow there was a progression. But, I actually think whatever we do, we're better off focusing and going deep in one area before. It's like when you learn a musical instrument. You don't try and learn 5 instruments at once. But someone who's a master of one instrument can pick up things that they've never picked up before. And a week later, it's like they've played it all their life. I don't know if you've come across musicians like that, but I certainly have. And I think somehow if you go deep in one area, you learn things about the way you learn in that area that are readily transferable. But if you go shallow over a wide area, you don't really learn anything in any of them. So, yeah.
I love that point, Stephen, because that's, we would often hear, especially on social media, right? Not just in mastering a specific skill, but people will always tell you have to niche down. You have to focus on one and really master it and learn the process of it and then move to another. And like when you were talking about how they are from the opposite side of the spectrum, I was about to ask, how did you transition from oil to ink? Really fast. I mean, really fast. And both was well accepted, embraced, and acknowledged by the community, and people are learning from you from both painting and
well, I did draw in pencil first. So I had maybe almost 2 years where all my drawings were pencil.
Yeah.
And but I think it's probably natural that when you sit in a space for a while, you want to keep pushing yourself. And I was looking at some of the ink artworks, and then I did begin after the pencil to do some ink, but I would still do pencil outlines. So my process, so the things that probably I'm most these kind of very kind of fairly detailed, very kind of precise architectural drawings. I have a photo that I do a 4x4 grid on. I do a 4x4 grid on the paper. And at the 6 hours it might take me to draw it, at least 3 of them will be spent doing a careful pencil outline. Then when I do the ink, when I draw the ink lines over the top, I don't just trace over the pencil. I still reference the photo for all the lines, but the pencil lines there give me confidence and guidance. But so there's a tip. Don't just trace over your lines, because that will be dead. That will look dead. You get life by actually still drawing it from the reference, but using the pencil outline as a guide. Yeah.
That's a very interesting tip, because normally I personally, if I have the pencil right as outline, I would trace over it instead of referencing to what I was trying to
No, because now that you're not having to work on the accuracy of the pencil line, you've actually freed up mental space and time looking to see things in your reference that you haven't seen before. And that gives you an opportunity now to incorporate that in your drawing, or as in my case, I mean, I wouldn't try and capture every single detail in the pencil outline. That some I'd just do freehand, but yes, you have more time to see things that just didn't have space when you were trying to just get the main proportions and angles correct. So and then I put sketch marker tone onto the drawings, and that then was my process. But when I started doing the Instagram live videos, that didn't work. That process didn't work. And I had to draw directly in ink. And because the time is so limited, you can't be fussing with an eraser and so that was very challenging, but it ended up being quite exciting to draw directly in ink and to develop a new process, a new way of drawing that worked for what I was wanting to draw. And I have so this is sort of a recent one, just direct ink drawing.
Directly, no pencil.
Yeah. This took about 3 hours. There were quite a lot of elements, but it was connected with a YouTube video as well. So at times that slows you down because you've got to focus on. But it ends up being a slightly more lively looking, slightly less precise, but I think has more energy in it, because the line work is capturing a feeling of your technique in a way that the more considered lines where it's all kind of guided out beforehand. Don't. So, yeah. I mean, I was also doing that because at the time, the reason I began doing that live drawing and therefore the direct in ink was because we had a big trip planned to Europe in 2020. We had 2 weddings in Germany that my wife and I were going to 3 months apart, and we were going to decide to travel in between. And so we had this wonderful trip planned that, of course, with COVID, never happened. But by then I'd already started the direct drawing in ink because I wanted to do street sketching in ink directly. And so doing the live videos on Instagram was a way of kind of forcing myself to train in that.
That's interesting about listening you talk about your process, Stephen, is that I'm just referencing back to how you started with drawing. It was you were walking, you were exhausted, and you took the time to sit down and slow down and draw with your daughter. And now you talked about starting off with pencil and then using the pencil marks or as a guide, not really for tracing, and still referencing. And then now with Instagram Live, you unlocked another process of drawing because of the time that the Instagram Live is allowing you. Of course, it's not sustainable to draw in pencil, and then that's the beauty of art. But at the same time, that it's a continuous process of learning. That even as a seasoned artist like you, always still be areas that this is a new environment for me, and I'm going to try it out and see. And you were very excellent in adapting to the time constraint and to form, and then now
I'm very practical.
Drawing.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny though because I still think of myself as a new artist, really.
Really?
Because it's so late in life. I mean, I was basically 50 before I began to do anything, and but because of my age, people look at me and presume I've been drawing all my life. But it is a funny kind of I still feel like I'm learning, and there's I'm still discovering new opportunities, and of course there are so many opportunities now.
It resonates with the audience because the way that you talk about the process and hearing you talk about your process now step by step, it's all coming from a position of you thinking that you are still a new artist. When I look at your works, and you're absolutely right, people will often say that, because you started this, and they would think that you've been doing this for a really long time. But what's also surprising when you said that is even though that you started what other people may perceive as late, but for me, it's absolutely not. And that really, I mean, hearing you talk about how you started, for me, that was inspiring to start something. There are a lot of things that I want to do, explore and learn. And you just showed us that you can absolutely start something and build a community around it where people can learn and through the value that you're sharing on social media.
I'm filming.
Sorry.
Hi there.
Sorry about that. I'll go around the other way.
Yeah, go around the front. Yeah.
I'm just checking in. Stephen, are you hungry? You haven't eaten your lunch.
Yeah, no. She's busy doing something. Yeah, just
okay.
Realize.
So I like what I said, you put so much value. You share so much. Like what you said earlier, you love thinking out loud and sharing what's in your mind, especially when it comes to art. And speaking of teaching, in your tagline, it's architectural drawing with a teacher's heart. And I felt that. And I've seen it through your words and hearing you talk about your journey as an artist. You have an upcoming class with us. We don't know the details yet for those who are listening, and I'm sure you are waiting for this. But there is a collaboration between Jackson, which is a major supplier of art supplies in the US, and with Stephen that's happening real soon. We will share with you the details in the show notes once we have them. But something to look forward to if you are fascinated by his works. If you've seen his live demo before, I'm sure you will definitely watch out for this one too.
it will happen. I've signed the contract, so it will happen. I really just have to work out what I'm doing, and there's just a couple of things that I'm just finishing up prior commitments before I get down to it as kind of the next thing. But yeah, you know, the hardest part is what is going to be most helpful for people, and yeah. But anyway, I'll work that out. So I can't give a time frame, but people could look at my YouTube videos if they want to see the sort of thing I do and the sort of approach I have. And if I can just mention, I do have a course with Class 101, a Korean education platform, which is a course, so you do have to pay for it, as opposed to the free stuff I do on YouTube. But it's systematic, which is a benefit as well.
The teaching part, I guess, it like what you said earlier, and I kept referencing from that with how you learned and with your background in teaching, and then your mindset of like reflecting on the process, looking at other people's work, how they find their style, how they find their own voice when it comes to art and drawing.
Yeah.
All of these came in full package when you teach and what you share online. I also love the fact that you're very active on socials, and people, like what you said, people might see social media as, you know, there are pros and cons, but with you, I think it's more on the pro side because of, like what I said, the value that you're sharing. And I also like what
was funny,
surprising, for you.
Because what was funny was as my social media account began to grow, some of my children, I have 4 adult children, but some of my children's friends who run their own businesses and were using social media as part of growing their business, asked could they come and have coffee with me, and could I talk about how I grew my social media account so much, and to give them tips, which of course my children couldn't believe, you know, that their friends would be coming to me for tips on social media. So.
I actually saw your video talking about how to grow, how it's about the algorithm. And I love how you dissect, you know, the smallest things that people don't normally pay attention to, like the most performing posts that you did, how many people have seen it from your followers versus the ones who aren't your followers. And I was like, this is really eye-opening for those who want to know how to manage their social media and the consistency part. Like when you said that if you post just once and looking at how the algorithm works, that your followers may not even see it. I mean, you have how many right now? 140 plus?
Almost, yeah. 139,000 something.
And in that video, you show that like 21,000 of your followers have seen it, but then like 71 plus aren't your followers. That's really surprising, right? If you think about it. Only a small fraction of people.
So you can repost your most popular posts because
really a good idea.
Most of your followers won't have seen it.
Right. I mean, you're absolutely. It's funny that your kids now are coming up to you. Let's have coffee. Can you share with me how you grow your Instagram and follow?
Oh, Dad, give me a shout out.
I mean, almost 140 followers. That's huge. And considering how you started this, so it was painting before, and then you switched to drawing. And
and it was the drawing, and so
it really
and different hashtags because it was a different niche, and that's some niches will be more have more engagement, have more people searching for them than others. And then when I switched to ink drawing, I got a lot more followers. Suddenly I had lots of tattoo artists starting to follow me because ink is an important word and thing for them. So a lot of hashtags with ink in it. So ink art is basically tattoo art.
Right.
The way it's used. Well, I never realised that, of course, when so I tend not to use ink art anymore. But people with no interest in pencil drawings, some of them have interest in ink drawings because they like all things ink. So, it's just the different way you connect with people, and is really fascinating.
I think what you like what you said. So there was one post that probably the person was having a bad day and then made a not so friendly comment, and then someone defended you. That is just the beauty of community that you build, and with socials, it's social media for a reason, right? It's about socializing and being part of the community, and I think you showing up on your lives and then sharing your process and teaching people through your YouTube videos. I think that's probably one of the reasons. For those who are asking how you grew your Instagram and your following, it's the community, really. And people wanting to go to your space because they know that they can learn something from you. And they absolutely did.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I started the YouTube videos, I remember thinking, because I did have a course and I was thinking I'd do some more courses, but I was also very aware that a lot of the world will never, ever be able to afford anything in US dollars because their local economy will never support that. And yet drawing is so accessible to everyone because you do just need pencil and paper. And so people without other options and who want to be creative and can't go and buy art supplies can draw. And I think in the end, and I think for a little while I was thinking, oh, well, I'll keep the best things back for maybe a paid something. But the truth is I just can't. Like, I don't have it in me not to say whatever I think is going to be helpful at the time. If it's worth saying, I got to say it. And so it is what it is. But and even like there are some schools of architecture in developing nations that use my videos. I know because they tell me, their students tell me, the staff tell me, and like it's just amazing. Here I am, a senior citizen in Australia who thought about doing architecture when he was young and almost did, and in a way, I'm involved with architecture now that I wouldn't have thought possible. So. Yeah, it's
amazing. It's amazing.
It's a crazy world. I never thought
it became smaller, but at the same time, it's amazing to see how we connect with other people from different parts of everywhere around the globe, right? And because of technology and art. In this case, it's art that's connecting them with you. I mean, you're in Australia. You said that that your videos are being used in schools for architecture. And it's funny though, because that, like what you said, it's something that you wanted to take before as a kid. And then now you're part of that world. Just beauty of life, I guess. But thank you so much, Stephen, for sharing. I learned so much, and I wish we could extend more because I know there's still so much that you can share. I mean, we've talked about your process, how you started from, the love and hate relationship, and then painting using oils to this random walk that you have with your daughter, and then stopping and then realizing that ink. Wow.
I mean, I often think, if that pencil drawing of Notre Dame I did with my youngest hadn't turned out, if it had been a bad drawing that I wasn't happy with, I probably would not have done any of this.
Exactly.
Like, it was the fact that drawing, I thought, oh, that looks better than I thought. I want to do this again. That actually started this journey. So it is funny thinking what turned on that one drawing.
Do you still have it? That drawing?
Yeah, I do.
Sketchbook? Oh, okay. That is something that, you could always go back to that this started.
If you want to have a look at it, it's a post in July 2018 on my Instagram account. It's one of you'll have to scroll back through about, 1,500 posts, but if you want to see it, it's there. I have posted
July 2018. I will definitely look for it because that is more than the art piece, it's the story behind it that I'm very fascinated with. Stephen, you've taught a lot. In this episode, you've shared a lot, and I'm really grateful for your generosity. I'm sure our listeners picked up a lot from this, from how to kickstart by trying out with small drawings first or paintings, to overcoming that being so critical with what you can and you cannot do, to exploring, being open to possibilities of art, down to learning as you go and adapting with the pencil sketch and then straight to ink. And sharing and being a good member of the community, whether it's in the art world or any other community. Thank you, Stephen, for your contribution. Any other golden nuggets that you would like to share with our audience before we wrap up?
Look, almost everything I could say becomes the introduction of a 20-minute lesson. But I'll say this. If you want to learn to draw and if you want to develop your own style, don't copy the drawings of other artists, because the skill you will learn doing that is how to copy well. And you might do wonderful copies that look really good and a really good art level, but it won't give you the skills you need to create your own drawing from life or from a reference photo or from your imagination. Because the key thing is how you translate what's in one form onto paper, and how you do that will define your style. And when you copy another artist's work, they've already done all that work, and you're just copying the lines that they've used to do that translation. But you can't draw your own drawings without learning how to translate yourself. And so most people, when they copy other drawings, it's because they want to draw their own drawings themselves. But because copying someone else's drawing leaves out the hardest part, you can actually do a better drawing that way, which can cause you to get kind of stuck doing that because you get the satisfaction of a nicer drawing. And yet what you really want to do is to do your own drawings, and it won't take you there. So, I mean, I don't mind people copying my drawings if you credit that you've copied them. I mean, that's not a problem. But if you want to learn to do your own drawings, then look at my drawings carefully, or whoever you like, and draw a similar subject so that you can take something of what they've done, but it forces you to make it your own. And I just think, a lot of people are just on what's going to be a dead end for where they want to go with drawing by copying other artists' work. So, that's my tip to help get people in the right direction. And it will be harder at the start because it is harder to create your own, but that will take you where you want to go. So,
very well said. Very good tip, especially because about copying, and there's nothing wrong if you want to copy, right?
No.
But the points that you made about when you copy, the skill that you're going to be learning from that is how to copy well.
Yeah.
But really dissecting the process and eventually discovering which of you're really good at and your style.
Yeah.
That's going to be a missed opportunity if you will just be focused on copying. Stephen, it's been a pleasure having you on Make More Art. Like what I said, I learned so much. All the best with what you do with your course and with that collaboration that you're going to have with us. Yep. And I'll keep an eye out for everything that you're going to post from your YouTube channel down to your Reels, to your IG live and your posts, and I'm sure your kids will definitely.
I've started using doing some reels using trending music and stuff, which the kids can't stand, but I've done a bit of it, so it's a crazy world.
The hang of it, I'm pretty sure, no doubt about it. But thank you so much, Stephen, for being
here. No worries, thank you.
All right. Yeah. Take care of yourself. Happy luncheon. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
It's been incredible to have Stephen on the show, and I'm grateful that this podcast has given me the platform to interview artists who are on a mission to inspire, educate, and encourage people to keep on creating. And in the words of Stephen, it will be harder to start at the beginning because it's harder to create your own, but it will take you where you want to go. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of Make More Art, the podcast, and for supporting the show. Drop us a comment or feedback through the blog post associated with this podcast at etcherlab.com/Stephen. Until then, let's make more art. We would love to hear your thoughts, so please drop us a 5-star review on the Apple Podcast, or you can find us on YouTube at Etcher Studio. And hitting the subscribe button is greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you again next time. Until then, let's make more art.